2024. And I call to order this general meeting of the Intermediate District 287 School Board. Welcome to all of our board members and our guests in person and online tonight. We are going to start as always with the reading of the mission statement to ground our work together this evening. And I've asked Dr. Tanya Allen to read the mission statement tonight.
The mission of Intermediate District 287 is to be the premier provider of innovative specialized services to ensure that each member district can meet the unique learning needs of its students.
Thank you so much. And Renee, would you start introductions and we'll go this way this time?
Be happy to. Renee Bowman, Robbinsdale 281.
Good evening, I'm Michael Bergman. I represent Edina Public Schools.
Hi, everyone. Shannon Andreessen representing Hopkins Public Schools.
And I'm Crystal Brackey from Richfield Public Schools.
Ann Casey, proudly representing St. Louis Park.
Ruthie Dallas representing Brooklyn Center Community Schools.
Michael Remicall representing Minnetonka Public Schools.
Hi, I'm Heidi Marty representing West Tonka Schools.
Dan Ginestra, Wayzata Public Schools.
Thank you. And we do have 3 board members who can't be with us tonight. So sending the regrets of Karen Orcutt from Orono, Jackie Mosqueda Jones from Osseo, and Kim Ross from Eden Prairie, though Kim might join us unofficially virtually here over the course of our meeting. So with that, we will move to approval of tonight's general meeting agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented? We have a motion by Dan Ginestra and a second by Mike Remicall. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye and the agenda is approved. Next up, we have open forum for community comments, and I don't believe we had anybody request time to speak with the board this evening. Great, thank you. We move to approval of the consent agenda containing routine business items that the board approves as a slate, unless there is an item that a board member would like removed for individual consideration. I have not heard of any such request, and I don't see movement to do so tonight. So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Second.
We have a motion by Michael Bergman and a second by Renee Bowman. I like this, like side of the table thing that's happening here so far in the motions. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye and the consent agenda is approved. So we move to share the success and recognitions, which tonight is going to focus on welcoming back our staff and our students with a video related to the first day of school. So I'm going to invite Neil Hepela up to introduce this.
Yeah, well, good evening, board members, Superintendent Dowd. Over the last couple of weeks, our dedicated staff have been hard at work preparing for the new school year. We're thrilled to have welcomed our new iTrack apprentices, as well as the new team members. Our open houses were a fantastic success, where we greeted both returning and new families. The first day of school is filled with excitement, as well as we, of course, welcomed our students with open arms. Let's take a moment now to look back at some of the highlights, and you're going to hear from our staff about their hopes and goals for this year ahead.
Hope for the school year is that we build strong relationships with our students that let them recognize that we are partners in helping them reach their full potential, and we get to watch that process evolve.
And I am excited. I am an apprentice this year, and so I'm excited to just learn the new role, learn how to become a licensed teacher. Just excited to see the kids.
Hi, I'm Yolanda, and I'm so excited for the school year. It's my first full year. I came in half a year. I'm just really excited to get back into it with my kids, learn what we're doing, and help out better.
Hi, my name is Sydney Merriman Ferry. I am an occupational therapist with the itinerant team. I am working at ABAC and with Richfield this year. I am very excited for building new partnerships with the students and the staff, taking on some new challenges, and being a collaborative part of the team that 2 Day 7 provides.
My name is Emily, and I'm really looking forward to having a lot of new teams here at Ann Bremer and meeting a lot of new students, learning a new program, and just creating new memories with our staff and students this year. It's going to be awesome.
I am excited about the students that I have in my classroom and getting to know them and working hard on the academic piece to help them further their education.
I'm George Brown, ESP. I'm excited to see the students again. Been a long summer. I actually miss a lot of them.
I am so excited to be able to work with students this year and giving them job skills that they need to go out to this bright, big, beautiful world, and so they can have a good beginning.
Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm part of the B100 program at North Education Center, and I'm super excited. It's a brand new program this year. We have kindergarten and first grade students, so it's a new program, new classroom, and I'm just really excited for the students to experience this with us.
Hello, my name is Steve Wold, and I'm excited to be back for my first full school year. I started last spring, but now I'm starting a whole new school year. Have some of the returning students, so I'm really excited to get back together with them again. And we have a new classroom, much larger, so very excited about that.
I'm most excited about what kind of adventures we'll go on this year and what we will achieve.
Hi, I'm Buzzy Anderson, and this is my second year at SEC, and I'm super excited about the reunion of the Dream Team. Lucy, Steve, and Buzzy back together again for another year.
We're gonna rock this year. We're excited for the kids. We got a lot of new staff. Yay! Welcome back, 2024, 25.
Great note to end on. Thank you to the communications team for that great video, just sort of bringing us into the start of the new school year. Thank you. So with that, we are going to move to the superintendent's report, which this evening, I'm so excited to have an introduction and a welcome to some of our new leaders in the district. So Dr. Tanya Allen is going to lead that for us.
Madam Chair and members of the board, I am really excited. We spent a lot of time getting the group that are here in the room and those that will be on screen momentarily hired into the district. We're really excited about the background and the experiences that they all hold. I'm going to start with our people that are in the room, and then we'll visually show some of the others that were unable to make it tonight. First, I'm going to start with Dr. Laura McClune. Dr. McClune comes to us with years of experience really supporting special education students and working with mental health in a variety of different ways and related service providers, which is much needed, obviously, in this district. And so we're really excited to have her on board as our Director of Student Supports. And she will be really working to lead our work around social emotional learning, restorative practices, and chemical health, and as well as working with a lot of our contracted providers in our Project Aware grant. So Dr. McClune, I don't know if you want to say anything.
I just wanted to thank everyone for this opportunity. I have worked, as Dr. Allen mentioned, I'm coming from Osseo, but also worked in Edina Public Schools, and so have been really on the periphery of 287 for a number of years, serving in member districts, and have always been so impressed by the work that's done by teams here to really meet the unique needs of all learners. And so I just am thrilled by the opportunity to be here and just wanted to take a moment to thank you all.
Thank you.
Next, I'm going to go in the order of when we hired. How's that? Next is Eric Bruner-Wiltsey, who is an assistant principal at Ann Bremmer Education Center. As all of you know, Ann Bremmer Education Center has a all-new leadership team, although one who is on the screen, Amanda Cook in the upper right corner, our former assistant director of special education, is the principal. She could not be here with us today, but Eric is here. And Eric brings a lot of experiences, not just from here in Minnesota and working in charters, but also previous experience in the state of Missouri. So he brings a lot of experience and even a background in neurosequential model in education, for those that remember NME work that we've done previously. So Eric, did you want to say a few words?
No, it's been really excited to be here. It's been a great experience so far with how supportive 287 has been so far. I've got, my background comes from level 4 settings and residential school settings in Missouri and administration and alternative settings, and been a little bit new to Minnesota. Followed my wife here. They say they always come back. It's not if, it's when. And so we came back, or she came back, and we're here. Love it so far. And 287 has been super supportive in the central office, and our assistant superintendents and superintendent in kind of a difficult time for ABEC. So and bringing everybody together, it's been very clear. So thank you to the board, because obviously that comes from the top down first. So glad to be here.
And last but not least is Dr. Alan David. And Dr. Alan David comes to us with a lot of different experiences, having had a background as a deaf, hard of hearing teacher in the past, and coming to us not recently from New York, but he has that in his background for many years. And then working most recently in Buffalo, Montrose, Hanover. I always mix up the right order, but got it. Yay. And so this is his first formal leadership position, but we're excited to have him on board. And do you want to come and say a few words? I know it's hard.
Hopefully going to round it up. I just want to just say, really appreciative of the opportunity, and again, there's a lot of good, strong bones in this district, and Ann Brenner is no exception. I mean, you can just see it in the faces of the staff. You saw it in the faces of the students who were just looking to run out of those school buses to come. So that just gives you an indication of how appreciated and loved they are by the staff. And I'm just honored to be able to contribute to that in some small, minor way. I mean, the team is really, really good. I mean, you got a cool partner in crime there. We got an awesome leader. I see nothing but success. And I like what Lucy said. I'm looking forward to the great adventures and the milestones that we're going to have this upcoming year. So thanks again for the opportunity.
Thank you. And those that are on screen, I'll start with the bottom. So some people may be familiar with Elizabeth Olson. Elizabeth previously served as an instructional manager for us in the district, and she is now the assistant principal, one of the assistant principals at South Education Center, and she couldn't be here with us tonight. And then looking over my shoulder, the middle upper is Dr. Ariel Chang, who is supporting our Northern Star Online program. And she has a background in, I believe, English learning services, as well as working in a variety of capacities within Fridley Public Schools. And then last but not least, on the right-hand side is Catherine Kitty Holland Payne, and she is over at West Education Center, and she'll be supporting our Tier 2 and Tier 3 programs over there. And she has a background from Eden Prairie of working as a dean. So we didn't try to rob or steal from member districts in any way, shape, or form, but it just happened. So we have a wonderful team, and I'm hopeful that throughout the year, you'll see them as we share and spotlight the success of our students at those various sites throughout the year. So welcome to all of you, and to them that could not be here. We just are really grateful for the administrative team that has come to fruition for us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great introductions. Thanks
Yeah.
so much, especially to the three of you who are here. Appreciate it. Hopefully you can go enjoy what is left of your Thursday night if you like, or you are welcome to hang out with us, whatever you prefer. But just thank you for being here. We appreciate it and are excited to get to know you much better in the months and hopefully years to come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we will move next to the Business Services and Labor Relations Report, where it feels like a good segue to a presentation on our district staffing for the 2024-2025 school year. So Dr. Kevin Witherspoon is going to present that to us.
It was a perfect segue. Chair Brecky, members of the board, Superintendent Dowd, I'm pleased to be grabbing the clicker first so I can walk through our presentation. Pleased to be sharing with you a hiring update today. So first of all, before I get started, I wanted to first thank Anna Kohler, who is our hiring coordinator, who just does a phenomenal job, and the rest of the human resources team who for their hard work and dedication. I'd also like to thank the principals, assistant principals, and other district leaders who really stepped up and helped us with the hiring process. They partnered in interviewing. They were online anytime we needed them. Any kind of event we had a plethora of people helping out. So I just want to thank them as well. So first things first, I'll start with our local 2209 hires. So we had a busy summer, and just you can see the chart there. But at ABEC, we hired 12 licensed teachers, 11 ESPs. Care and treatment, we had 1 licensed and 1 ESP. Our career and tech, 2 licensed and 3 ESPs. Our district office had 3 licensed staff members. North Education Center had 7 licensed and 8 ESPs. Northern Star Online had 5 full-time staff members. We have a lot of part-time staff members. South Education Center had 8 licensed and 11 ESPs. West Education Center had 10 licensed and 9 ESPs. I'll turn here to our itinerant group. 4 licensed teachers, 5 interpreters and interveners. And now you got an introduction, but I'll just show it again. Our principals and assistant principals group, we had a lot of hiring this summer for them as well. Show our local 284 group. We have 5 administrative support, 1 custodian, and 1 food service member. Our administrator and unaffiliated, we had several positions this year. Director of Student Support, Equity and Inclusion Coordinator, Manager of Curriculum and Instruction, Manager of Student and Safety, Staff Safety, and a Program Analyst. We had a total of 85 external hires attend our new staff academy. So there's a little discrepancy from the video, 107, but some of those were returning staff. So we had 85 external staff that we hired. We continue to hire. We have plenty of vacancies to still fill. The thing with vacancies are that, a lot of them have to do with staff projections, student enrollment, and then we've done some rounding up, if you will, so programs can grow. So we have, I didn't go through all of the positions, but we have, ABEC still has a number of positions that are open. North has approximately 6 licensed. South has between 4 and 5. So we have plenty of positions. If you know any ASL interpreters or school guidance counselors, send them my way, please. What questions might you have?
So yeah, if you could just talk about kind of the extent to which we're hiring new people to fill kind of new roles, and then, kind of just responding to needs throughout the district.
Yeah, so we look at our needs often, and if you look on our website, we have a lot of positions that are posted. A lot of times we don't take them down when they're posted because we know that we'll need them, and so we keep a good track of those numbers. We meet with the other directors to find out where we're at in terms of staffing. So we continue that process. We didn't, I don't have the specifics on new position. I don't have the projection and enrollments with me today, but there's a couple new positions, couple of positions that the equity department had this year. So we're really excited about that and the work that they're already started doing. So.
Just to add, so when we do projections, just as here, we meet with all of the directors of special education members, and they project through the end of the year. So we don't start with that number. We just know that there may be referrals, as you know, referrals throughout the year, and we base our staffing as if all those referrals came true. So even though we start a little bit smaller, we do not have a student enrollment. And then when we did do the student enrollment projection, we are up significantly in regards to projected referrals of special education, double-digit updates and projections. So we are hoping for that. We also received specialized funding. So the anti-bias grant, student support grant, and some of the equity positions in district office positions are really due to specialized funding streams that are new to us, but not part of the projection that we face.
Thank you.
In the past, we've had like a tree of staffing tree, or, you know, a graph of new positions. That would be helpful if we have an updated version of that with some of the newer administrative hires. Is that possible to get that?
I just saw a draft of it this week, so we
Okay.
do have that.
Okay.
So.
Great, thank you.
Michael?
I'm curious as to with all the leadership changes at Ann Bremer, do we find that the leaders themselves are able to, depending on where they come from, are they able to kind of attract or bring with them, or at least kind of have some indication of staff that they've worked with before that might eventually be able to bring them to our way? I mean, leadership is always important, as we've seen with obviously superintendent and building out the leadership team over a couple of years. I'm not saying it's immediate, but over time, do you feel that that is a part of the overall recruitment strategy as well in every building and in the district office as well?
Definitely, we want our new leaders that join us to bring their great leaders with them. So that's always a great recruitment tool. I agree.
Something member districts again love to do.
Yeah.
But to add, we all have connections.
Yep.
Yes.
When it's right and it works for all parties, you'll see staff migrate together that work well together.
Good. And then I had a second question, which was about our Grow Our Own. So I'm just curious as to, as you'd indicate, there were some people both in the video as well as in some of the new hires. Have we seen our program for Grow Our Own? Have we seen some increases of people moving into the new positions and so on, so from that standpoint? I know that's not part of your new hire, but are we seeing success from that standpoint?
We are seeing success. I don't have the specific numbers. I wonder if Dr. Lodge Rogers does potentially, but we have lots of opportunity for people who graduate from the programs, people who are current ESPs to get licensed positions, apply for tier 1 licenses, short call subs, all of those things to provide additional opportunities for growth.
I would hesitate to say the number because I can't remember it off the top of my head, but we have many of our staff who came through our West Metro program and who now hold a tier 3 license, and
Great.
even some that have moved into tier 4. The numbers are encouraging because it's going in the right direction. And I think now with our additional opportunities with the various program funding streams that we have, including the apprenticeship program, but not only the apprenticeship program, we have more opportunities to support our teachers as they
Yeah.
access.
And I
further
wasn't too
licensure.
concerned about the number, it was more of, because it's kind of a strategic part of the strategic plan, right? To kind of
Yeah.
make that happen. And there's a lot of that discussion that's happening in our own districts as well. I'm just curious as to I would hazard a guess that 287 probably has a pretty good program. And as far as when you think about new hires, even if you had a new hire that maybe wasn't quite at the tier level that maybe we'd like them to be, but then kind of build them from that standpoint that the seeds that we're planting and like cultivate over another 2 to 3 years, that this will hopefully help us streamline or at least in a way flatten out any high or low curves as far as, employment goes. And I know that's a real challenge in education, but I just know that's such a huge part for it. That's the only reason why I asked.
Yeah.
Is that
And also a good
review.
recruiting tool for people knowing
Yeah,
that
they're-
they're.
Exactly.
Mhm. We do have a lot of interest in those opportunities.
Oh,
Ruthie, did you?
oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just wondering, what are the demographics of the new hires? Have we been reaching any sort of equity goal or?
Yeah, so we continue. I don't know, did she steal your question?
I'm gonna look to you.
I did not bring that data with me tonight, but it's definitely some information that I can get and share with you.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, Ruthie.
No, I was just wondering too about the equity goals and how much are we faring with the grow your own as far as diversity among teachers of color and other staff.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a goal that we try to improve in with all of our hires. Anecdotally, I think we're doing okay. I would definitely like to get some real numbers to actually share some real data with you before I give you
Even the pool
information.
of recruits are representative of the type of diversity that we're seeking. Because you can't hire anyone if you don't actually have people come knock on the door. So I'm just curious, maybe as you think about the numbers, just think about from a recruiting standpoint, the pool of people that maybe have come to consider or at least threw their hat in the ring to be considered, but maybe they chose not to for whatever the reason. But I think it's a two-tier metric, the recruitment part and then the actual hiring part, because the recruitment part is a function of that. Hiring's dependent on the recruitment part.
Yep.
Go ahead.
In my newsletter, we do have someone that is really doing data in regards to demographics as well as how many ESPs have been recruited into licensed positions. And so I will put that in my Friday newsletter for you.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
I think Friday newsletter and then also maybe when you feel like there's appropriate data, just bringing it to a board meeting, I think also would be valuable. And it sounds like people would appreciate the chance to discuss. Anything else? Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We move now to the board business section of our agenda, which is the largest section of tonight's agenda. We have a number of policies that we are going to be looking at tonight. Two that we are being asked to approve as part of the second read, and then a resolution that goes along with that. And then 5 that are before us tonight for our first read. So I'm going to turn things over to the superintendent to first introduce the items that we are being asked to act on this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to start with policy 903, the visitor and school district building and space policy. At our last board meeting was the first reading. This is the second reading. From the first to the second reading, there were no changes recommended. So I am moving forward with approval, requesting approval for this.
Thank you. Are there any questions about this one?
Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I don't necessarily have a question. I was just wondering if there could be a language change from guardian to caregivers.
And I think for me, that raises the question whether that is a broader policy. I imagine that term is used consistently in policy. So whether or not that's just something that we should be changing moving forward as part of the review process.
Yes, and so the ad hoc committee has agreed to use caregivers. We must have missed.
Okay.
When we said guardian and caregiver, so I will apologize. So would I seek approval with that language change?
Sounds good. Any other discussion or suggestions? Thank you for that, Shannon, and for catching it. All right, is there a motion to approve 903 with that slight language amendment as noted?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Shannon Andreessen and a second by Heidi Marty. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye and the policy is approved.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The second one is policy 721, uniform grant guidance policy regarding federal revenue resources. Again, there was no changes from the first to the second readings. So I am seeking approval of policy 721.
Thank you. Questions or comments related to this policy, knowing that the next step we are being asked to take is a resolution related to it. I don't see any. Is there a motion to approve policy 721 as presented?
Second.
We have a motion by Ann Casey and a second by Ruthie Dallas. Any final discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye and the policy is approved.
And now that the policy is approved, there is a component that you need to annually approve regarding policy 721. So I seek a resolution to approve the adjustment to the policy.
Thank you. Given this so closely connected, I anticipate there probably are not questions or comments, but just to be safe. Looking around. Okay, is there a motion to waive the reading and approve the resolution as presented?
So moved.
We have a motion by Michael Birdman, a second by Mike Remicall. Any final discussion? As this is a resolution, Shannon, our clerk, will pull the board.
Thank you. Do we need to read out the language?
I said waive the reading as part
Okay.
of the, so I
Great,
think
thank
we're good.
you. Shannon Andreessen votes aye. Michael Birdman.
Aye.
Renee Bowman.
Aye.
Crystal Brackey.
Aye.
Ann Casey.
Aye.
Ruthie Dallas.
Aye.
Dan Ginestra.
Aye.
Heidi Marty.
Aye.
Michael Remicall.
Aye.
The motion passes, resolution passes.
Thank you so much. All right, we will now move into the first read section of policies. So turning it over for a very big and important one, in my humble opinion, student discipline.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is the first reading of policy 506, student discipline. As you remember, it may look familiar, we revised this policy and approved it in April of 2024. This is an annual requirement for approval. And in review of this policy, nothing has changed from, we use MSBA as model to look at our policies. There has been no language change since prior approval. So this will be the first reading of an annual policy, review policy.
I have a question, so it's not necessarily specific to this, but it's making me think now that this one's coming back to us just a few months later, right? Because it's part of an annual process. What does the student engagement process look like for these that are now going to be sort of on an annual cycle like this? Because this is an example of one that is so central to the student experience. It just made me wonder.
For this one, we didn't, we sought significant student engagement.
Yeah.
But between April and now, since there are no changes, we did not.
Okay.
But I anticipate if you're asking for the process.
Yeah.
Anytime we review a policy after a year, it would include engagement again.
Okay.
So we'll have an end of the year engagement process to bring this forward at the beginning of the school year.
Great, thank you.
Follow up on that, the timing for this particular annual review, was April the typical timeframe that would happen, or would be the fall when school starts be the typical timeframe?
The fall would
fall.
be a typical timeframe, usually after legislative session too, if there's any changes that come out, it'd be best to do these fall,
Thank you.
for updates, yep.
It's tricky, right? Because like, I understand why it's connected to the legislative cycle, but it also would be a very awkward time to make changes from a student and staff perspective. As far as when it would go into effect.
Yes, and so, because it really leads also our handbook, our student
Yeah.
handbook and everything else, and so prepping it for new information to start school year is critical.
But I think my.
So what you
so you're
said
thinking-
was we would do the feedback part in the spring before summer. So that the student feedback would already have been done. Correct.
And then you'd combine that with any legislative things that might have happened in late spring, going in right before summer started.
So it would be in place
They'd be,
for fall.
they'd be kind of
Correct.
in
Got it. Yep.
place.
Now I
for-
understand.
I got you.
Okay, thank you. Working through it.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Janet?
Because of the nature of the students that we serve in this district, I have paid particular attention to the section on students with disabilities and was wondering if the committee at all took some time to talk about what I think might be a little problematic in particular in our district, that that students who are currently identified as eligible under IDEA will be subject to the provisions of this policy unless the student's IEP or 504 plan specifies a necessary modification. How does that modification get made? Is it by staff? Is it by families? Do they need to be educated about the huge laundry list of student responsibilities? Are our students at that level of responsibility ownership? I find this language problematic.
Yeah. And I, it is a huge lift, and where it occurs is at individual IEP meetings. So what every district in this, at least Minnesota should be doing is looking at the student handbook, looking at this policy and entering into conversations about, is there anything in regards to your student's plan that they may not be able to follow all of the behavioral rules of the school or the history handbook. And the IEP team talks about it, and then they write a proactive behavior plan to say, how are we going to teach that skill and support it, and also are exempt from specific discipline, maybe based on their IEP. So that's at every IEP meeting, the school's responsibility to communicate that with the family, go through it and enter into conversation so that the IEP is protection to support the student growing the skill and discipline.
And is that noted anywhere in this policy?
I believe it does say. It's not noted that it happens at the IEP. That is, add in the first reading.
That would be great, because I even find the language going forward is very much putting the onus on the student to comply with behavior,
Yeah, it's really.
unless it's stated.
In that first sentence, I can see where it puts the onus. And then it's really brings the child's IEP team and the child's parent shall consistent with federal law, puts, manifest determination of expulsion. But
Right.
you're really talking about the proactive side of the IEP process.
Right.
Yeah, I can.
Thank you.
Thank you for advocating for that. That's a really important thing to recognize about the unique elements of our student population in 27. So I'm glad you picked up.
Well, I had the lovely opportunity to go through this in our home district, so.
And one thing that just to share is a add language, it will be high level as policy, and then we'll add a procedure to it. For staff to ensure that in the IEP process, that's one of the action items, just for consistency.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this first reading? Moving on to the next one, which is drug-free workplace in schools.
All right, so the next policy is policy 418, drug-free workplace. What you'll notice in the changes in this policy specifically is around cannabis products, as well as any kind of controlled substance. And certainly, that comes with the use of any kind of cannabis or vape product. Language that has been added is specifically around that, also providing more definitions. We did have staff, special education leaders, others review the policy. One topic that they talked about is talks about district property, and we have district property, and then yet we are also at other property, like kind of protect. And so you'll see we added, what does that district property mean, and we broaden it other than just our physically owned, it's also rented property. And those were the big things that were discussed. And really, there also will be in the policy, it talks around procedures for drug testing for students and employees. And what our administrators really wanted more training with their mental health personnel. What does that look like? And so we have a procedure that will be updated in this policy. Open it up for questions or comments.
I do want to ask, so it's kind of the first question that came to my mind, and perhaps if it's already in there, just to highlight it is, it says drug-free workplace or for schools. So there are some students for whom, the school is their workplace. And so kind of how that relationship works, not necessarily are we changing a policy for that circumstance, but just kind of to elaborate on kind of what that looks like.
Yeah, so I think what's interesting about this policy is not something for our employee policy. So they're talking about workplace, but really in this policy, talking about our staff, our hired staff. When a student is on a field trip or in a work environment, which could either be on one of our properties or at an independent work site, if they're under our watch and our supervision for work experience, they would need to also. This policy.
Thank you.
Okay, and of course, feel free to continue to share thoughts or questions that might come up between now and the second read. So we'll move on to the harassment and violence policy.
All right, so this is the first reading of policy 413, harassment and violence. In this policy, there were changes, one within the purpose, and the policy references protected class. And what we're seeing is discrepancy between protected class and the Human Rights Act as well as Title IX. This was referring to for the human rights. We have changes to Title IX that we'll be bringing forward for policy review, pretty substantial. And so that will be coming at a future date for your site. But this one had some pretty significant changes in regards to adding sections about school district action, retaliation, the right to an alternative complaint procedure. And so you'll see all of those added changes. It was last reviewed in 2019. So that's significant legal changes between now and then. One thing that we did add that was recommended by our administrators and families was to recommend adding Kevin Witherspoon, Dr. Kevin Witherspoon is our human rights officer, and putting contact information in the policy. There's open it up to questions and recommendations. Sorry, I'm gonna add one more thing. In that first paragraph, the purpose, we did add outside of MSD language, gender identity and expression. Thank you.
And to be clear, the last time this was revised was December of 2019.
Right.
I had just a question about the protected class. One of the things that we've added in our district is immigration status. And I'm not quite sure if that's something that District 287 might want to explore adding as well.
Can you say more about that in terms of how that's defined and? Because I haven't heard that one before, so I'm curious because I'm on the policy committee and I haven't heard that before. So is it just discrimination based on someone's immigration status? That's Like the
Mhm.
simple implied definition
Mhm.
of what that means is not something more detailed than that. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for having. I think my question is tied to, I know I saw the note in the summary about staff wanting more training on investigations and process, which makes very good sense because I think these are great examples of policies that exist. And then when it's sort of in the moment, people often don't know like how to actually access or what steps to take. And so I think the how to support staff on this is certainly really important, but I also think students, right? Like, how is this information going to be made accessible to students and families because they're also covered by this policy? So that it may not be a policy language question, it may be more of a procedure question, but made me wonder.
Yeah, it's good. And just to follow up on the staff side, one thing that the HR department has done is developed a guide in examples on templates on how to do investigations. And also templates for letters. And so we have been all summer, they've built a significant resource to support consistency of investigations in implementation. And so we rolled that out this summer at our Leadership Institute, and then every the last 4 or 5 meetings, we've been having scenarios. And then there's table talk around it. So we're trying to build consistency in practice. The conversation around students and families, what you'll see in the last legislative session, and most of these policies now requiring an overt communication to families and students around this. And really, again, this could be a really good lesson and thinking about how we use our policies and have students have debates and conversations about, and this would be a great one to do that too.
Absolutely.
And we don't have a definition for gender identity or gender expression. And they're listed in the policy, but also used those terms, and a couple of others are used under the definition of sexual orientation. Not as part of, well, it says like a person may be attracted to men, women, both, neither, or to people who are genderqueer, androgynous, or have other gender identities. And so like we're using a bunch of words that we haven't defined. And so I wonder if that, I don't know, does the Human Rights Act have a definition for gender identity and gender expression? I don't know.
Let me look.
I should
into
know,
it.
but I
No,
don't.
But let me look into it.
But that might just be, since we're using it in a couple of different places, and I do think it really does pertain to like the meat of this policy. Yeah.
Sharon Brackey.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if, I do know that definitions like that are included in other policies. Was it part of I know we were working on gender inclusion policy here in the district. I'm wondering if those definitions are part of that. If not, I know they are part of Hopkins, probably other districts.
Yeah.
So that might be an easier way to track it down.
So good, helpful input on the first read. And I think this is when we can also decide if we want to have it come back for a third read as necessary. I'm a fan of taking however many rounds we need to get a policy in place. So I think we'll let you and the ad hoc committee continue discussion and then come back and we'll figure out if we have something we're comfortable with at the second round or if we want to do a third. We'll go from there.
Would some of the discussions that we just had about looking into some things, would that, as part of the ad hoc, would that actually go back to the student groups and or the staff groups that might have been involved as far as language and so on and so forth to get their input on that?
We can talk about it then.
Yeah, I'm not advocating one way. I'm just given that our practice has been to want to make sure we're doing that. That might be another way to ensure that whatever we come up with.
I think it'd be good for the ad hoc to talk about whether that would be a good step to take. And I see an ad hoc committee member nodding on the screen. Anything else on this one?
I just wanted to make one more comment. I liked that school board members were specifically listed as being subject to this policy, so.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, we will move to public and private personnel data.
Right, this is the first reading of policy 406, public and private personnel data. The last time that this was approved was 2015. Data privacy changes changed significantly. Also, it's pretty much a majority of this policy. In reviewing it with staff and administration, there was conversations around parking space lease, which we don't have in this district. We also have conversations around public, that emails are public. And so as we communicate with families and staff, all emails that are on district email is public information. It can be pulled at any time or requested at any time. If it is a public request about a specific student, anytime there's email exchanges, even between staff, that's not private. Also sharing how public that is, and it really, with the amount of feedback we got on it, it was something that we recognized we need to communicate with staff regarding emails, text, whatnot, with any student that makes mistakes. And the other thing that they identifying the school board as applicants for appointment to a public body. And a lot of people said, what is that? Who are those people? So I said the school board. So we actually just named it. Those are the language changes just for more clarity than anything else. Or the changes that we made outside the MSBA language. I'm open for comments or questions.
Are there any? I will admit I think it's right that any information about the school board is public, but I think the language here doesn't necessarily align with what at least I've experienced process to be as far as applicants for appointment to the board. So I don't think it is an application process per se, so that doesn't feel
More fine.
quite right.
Yeah. Are you recommending a language change?
I think so, or maybe I just don't understand the
context of applicants.
Yeah.
That might sound like if you were running for school board, then that's there as opposed to someone who's elected and now appointed to the school board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through the election result. That just seems kind of
Yeah.
it's an overreach, and if you're going that far of the context of the language.
I think, it says data about applicants for appointment to a public body collected by the school district as a result of the applicant's application are private data except for the following, which are public. And I just think we don't have an application process. It really, that is driven by the member
Oh, District
districts, not by
287.
287. So I
Right.
think that's the piece that I'm just not sure how that actually works in our context.
We might be able to get rid of that. you're saying?
Well, the information about you.
Is
Is
public.
public, but it's not an application because our bylaws require you to be appointed versus, this is, MSBA takes from a traditional district lens.
Yeah.
And so I could adjust this language to align with
Our
your
bylaws.
appointment process. Bylaws.
Yeah.
Okay,
That makes sense.
that makes sense.
But I think that also it's true is that you can have an appointment of someone who's actually not an elected school board member.
Correct.
Or who's no longer an elected school board member, and so their information would still be from that standpoint.
We do have that situation.
I'm sorry, while you were saying what you were saying, I was still noodling back to the previous topic, which was understanding that it's public data. If you're talking about a student internally, email and so on and so forth. I guess maybe I misread what was being said. Are we suggesting that someone could have a public records request that then would actually be able to see that? I don't.
So
For
it goes back to, I understand your question. So we could get a request from a parent on their own child. So if we
Mhm.
go back to what is policy that we did, the student policy in regards to data
Mhm.
request. Wouldn't be, we could get a public request, we would have to process here,
Mhm.
get a request that we had that they didn't have right to the information. Take away some identifying
Right.
information, but they would have access to the communication that would. And then, but if a parent requests a teacher's email and communications to other team members regarding their child.
Right.
They would have access if they are identified as a legal guardian. Volunteer.
Thank you for that clarification, because that was a little bit, as discussed. I think Kim. say something.
Kim, go ahead as an unofficial participant.
From the peanut gallery.
Yeah.
I will just say that as we talked about this policy, because it's so steeped in legislation and legalities,
yeah,
we were reticent to change a lot of it. I mean, the issues you're raising are good ones, and we'll absolutely take a look at it. But just know that that was kind of at least my mindset about this particular policy.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we've talked about that with other ones, right? The things that are so closely tied to law, we don't actually want to stray too far outside the bounds of. Which the last question, and I just Googled it to make sure that I wasn't going to say something silly, but I'm surprised that FERPA isn't referenced at all or isn't listed as a sort of relevant law to this. Because are there some things that the Minnesota Government Data Practices Act does not cover that FERPA would? And if this is based on MSBA model policy, then I imagine they would know that better than I would. I was just surprised to not see it anywhere.
I can tell you this is MSBA model.
Okay.
They reference HIPAA.
Yeah.
But
Might be worth just asking them why it's not. Any other questions or comments on this one? All right, we will move to our last first read of the evening related to tobacco-free environment and other related topics.
all right, so this is Powell's first reading of policy 419, tobacco free. Environment is what we're calling versus schools. That's the new language that is used. It was last reviewed in 2019. As you know, there's been significant changes. And so a lot of it is accepting the ad hoc committee. We accepted the language from MSBA. What you'll see that's added changes is really those electronic delivery devices. I don't even know if in 2019 we had vaping or other kind of electronic, but maybe we did. But one thing that our staff talked about in reviewing this policy is it referenced American Indian, and we agreed to add Indigenous added to that language. And so we changed that language outside MSB consistent throughout the policy. We also had great discussion regarding the exceptions for American Indian Indigenous as being part of an identified tribe. So there's exceptions to this policy if you are part of an identified tribe. And we had really a lot of conversations around the barriers that some may be experiencing to be identified as part of a tribe. And we had conversation about, well, it's current law, and yet we know the barriers. What would our role be in supporting staff, students in regards to identification? So that was part of a large conversation on this policy amongst the people reviewing it as well as our ad hoc committee.
Did, I'm sorry, Sherba.
Go ahead.
Did our APAC have a chance to look at this to make sure that the wording is in alignment with current practice?
I am. Kiara, I know, I think is on our APAC. Sometimes we divide and conquer in regards to feedback. So I know she's on the line listening. But
I don't know if she would have heard you. You sort of said that very
Oh.
quietly.
Sorry.
Oh, no, I'm
Oh, you're
I'm
here.
here.
Did we
Um,
pass this to the team?
we can. Our APAC was not is not scheduled to meet during the summer, but we and that's when we reviewed this policy. But as we start meetings in October and November, we can bring this to our APAC.
That'd be great. Thanks.
We'll hold the second reading till after the APAC meeting.
I think that's a great step to take. Thank you.
And offer one, not to this policy, but to the overall program. What would really be helpful, given that we've had this notion of things are gonna be annually reviewed, things that haven't been reviewed for 5 years, 11 years, whatever, and we're not. Is it possible that when we actually do the final read, when we get to action, can we maybe have something that says, if this is approved, whatever it is, this is when it will be next looked at as a practice, so that there's a notion, not just for the board, but also for anyone who's actually paying attention, that this is the cycle for which this is at. So clearly annual ones are a little bit easier because we kind of say that, I think, in practice. But ones that are not, like, I wouldn't know what would be the cadence, the appropriate cadence for this particular item. Is it only when MSBA provides some update to it? Or would it be part of our new policy practice to say every 3 years, we're gonna look at this?
It would be part of, we always, District 27 always had a, one name develops a rotation. But they got behind.
Yes.
So we're doing some cleanup and we'll continue with the 3-year rotation unless it's an annual review. And so she does coordinate that, that could be on our website under, I think it usually is policies and procedures.
I'm just thinking as a way for us to kind of hold ourselves accountable to the fact of what that cycle is. It's easily identifiable so that someone say, oh, well, wait a minute, the last this was reviewed was 2019. We've clearly missed that mark.
Yes, and so when we started the ad hoc committee, we went through.
Yes.
The current, so the ad hoc committee has more involved role in
Yes.
consultation and seeing the grid.
You guys are amazing, by the way. Amazing.
But if we want me to attach it to any of the board stuff, that you just for, you'd like to see it too.
Or if anything, even in the summary, when you're doing the
Oh,
summary,
yeah.
to just say, add one line that says policy will be next reviewable whatever year.
Elizabeth?
I just was gonna add that.
Sorry, Dr. Lodge Rogers.
That's okay. That statutory and legislative stuff sometimes happen.
Of
too,
course.
Outside of those.
Of course.
Cycles, so.
Yeah, I didn't mean to be verbatim, but like, it's,
No,
we
no,
know
no.
that that happens.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like, but as a means for us to hold ourselves accountable to when it's not that.
Agreed.
That not having something from since 2013, that's, yeah, that's not, that shouldn't be the standard which we're living by. And I know we're not now because we have the ad hoc committee and we're doing that, but this is where we learn from the process from that standpoint. So I just, a suggestion, doesn't have to be taken, just thought I'd say it.
It's a great suggestion and just that rotation. And when when I keep repeating that this hasn't been reviewed, this is 2013 or 19, I understand that concern and commitment to the ad hoc committee's commitment to get us up to date. All right, I'll hold that one until after APAC and then we'll bring it back.
Thank you. All right, thank you for really good, rigorous and engaging policy discussion, everyone. I am excited to move to the next item, which is about our superintendent contract. So I'm going to share just a little bit of the process that we have engaged in and an overview of the proposed contract that I am bringing forward tonight. So coming out of the strong and unanimously supportive evaluation process that we had with Superintendent Dowd this summer, she and I started conversation about her third year contract with District 287 as our superintendent. I think as most people know, that's pretty typical as far as timing of when superintendent contract conversations happen. It's typically sort of the summer to fall before the contract itself actually ends. So Marcy's current contract that she is in goes through the end of June 2025. So this next contract that we are looking at tonight would be July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2028. As far as process, there were several different pieces of information that were reviewed by both Marcy and myself. So member district superintendent contracts, intermediate district superintendent contracts. Also, of course, looking at the contracts and unaffiliated staff guides for 287 to really look at parity within our own staff units. Marcy and I met several times, came up with an agreement that I think we both felt really good about. And then on August 27th, the executive committee, which is Shannon, and Ruthie and myself met to also discuss. So I feel good about the process that we have engaged in. I'm really excited that we have a 3-year contract extension before you this evening. At a very high level, I wanted to share that the compensation package that I am proposing represents an increase of 3.07% per year. So that is for each one of the 3 years of the contract. And so that incorporates the salary increase, insurance, retirement contribution. That is the fully baked increase per year is 3.07%. Board members, you have received a copy of what the updated contract would look like with those changes reflected. I think that is sort of it at a very high level, certainly open to questions from board members before I would ask for a motion to approve the contract before you tonight.
Thank you for all the effort. Glad we could come to an agreement.
Great. Want to make sure I give adequate time. This is obviously a really big decision for us as a board and for our school district, but I could not be more excited and supportive to have Marcy's commitment for another 3 years leading our district.
I agree.
You're here.
Let's see, any questions, comments other than support? Is there a motion to approve the superintendent contract as presented?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion by Shannon Andreessen and a second by Ruthie Dallas. Any conversation? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye and the superintendent contract is approved.
Thank you, Madam Chair and board members. I look forward to continuing to work in an amazing district with you. And my full commitment to District 287 for not only this year, but the next. We have an amazing team and I'm excited where we're gonna go.
Yeah, we are too. Thank you. All right, just a few items to close tonight. For the AMSD report, I did really want to point everybody's attention to the September AMSD Connections newsletter because the feature story is about the iTrack work that I think 287 has played such a critical role in. And so I just thought it was a great way to highlight this really important new effort and celebrate our apprentices. I don't know if there's anything else you want to share related to that.
Yeah, so the only thing I just want to do a shout out to Camille and the communications department for drafting it for AMSD and just really highlighting the great work we're doing. As licensed teachers. So thank you.
Absolutely. Excited all of AMSD member districts will get a chance to learn more about this work. Okay, just a couple of things on the calendar front. As I said at our last meeting, our first Get on the Bus and Local 2209 lunch are both scheduled for October, so nothing in the very immediate future, but continue to look at those dates. October 15th at North Education Center for Get on the Bus and October 22nd for the lunch with 2209. Get them in your calendar, let Juanine know if you can attend. And then before we go to once around the table, just our next board meeting is Thursday, September 26th at 6:30 p.m. So with that, are there items that board members would like to share with each other as we end with once around the table tonight?
No,
Go
go,
ahead.
go,
No, I'm still looking for a date, so.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Michael.
It's not necessarily directly about 287, but it is for all member districts. I'm actually in the Rotary Club of Edina, Morningside. There's actually two clubs in Edina for Noon Club and Morning Club. For almost the last 50 years, we've promoted and run an entrepreneurship leadership program called Camp Enterprise. It's held every fall. This year it'll be from October 31st through November 2nd. It's for high school juniors and seniors. All expenses are paid for the students by the Rotary Clubs of Minnesota and Western Wisconsin. And it's a 3-day program for them to come and work on a case study and come up with a business plan and make a presentation to venture capitalists. And they can earn up to $1,000 scholarship. There's 5 scholarships that are offered for those not necessarily who win the competition, but more of who are fully engaged in the process to make that happen. It's a really incredible program. I've been reaching out to all 110 public high schools within the districts that this represents, including all of yours. We're always in need of trying to find students and hopefully as many diverse students as we can, and diversity from every aspect, because getting an introduction to this part of entrepreneurship is, I think, a critical thing that we need to have across the board. We have up to slots of up to 120 students that we can do. And so if you're at all interested, please let me know and I will be happy to share the information with you. But I've contacted all your counselor offices and the career college coordinators and things like that to make that happen. So I just want to pass that along as an amazing student opportunity. And I hope to have the problem of we have 120 students who want to come, and then we at Rotary have to figure out how we're going to pay for it. That is my goal. As I meant to say, I'm the chairperson this year for this program, and so I'm working very hard on that. And many of you have already had students who've participated every year in doing this. So, thank you.
Thank you for that.
Yes, so just wanted to let everyone know that the Hopkins Legislative Action Coalition is organizing our candidate forum. And if you, probably a number of us share candidates who for state office, and it all revolves around education, of course. And that will be on a Saturday in October. I think it's the 5th, but I will report back at the next meeting, the exact date. But how we run it, it started during the pandemic and I think it works well. It's virtual and we do it according to district. So each district candidates have an hour. It's broadcast live. People can ask questions, submit them beforehand or ask in the moment. And people can also watch it after the fact, which has been very popular. Tune in when it intersects with your district. You learn a lot about who seeks to represent us and how they're going to advocate for education.
Shannon, have you had a pretty good turnout in the past? All candidates running that you've asked, do they attend?
It depends on what you mean by the past. Historically, yes, it was very much seen as something that you should do as a candidate. In recent years, there are candidates who don't feel like they need to engage with the public. So, but this year, I think we only have one candidate who will not participate, which is really good. From the past 4 forums we've had. Yes.
You speaking about that did remind me, I could have also shared this in the AMSD section, but last Friday, there was the historically very popular AMSD session with the Morris Leatherman group, which is the public polling about education and about the upcoming election. And their polling window was like, I think he said it started the day after the DNC convention. And so very recent and covered a lot of ground. And I think it was probably roughly an hour Renee, Marcy and I were able to be in the room in person. You were virtual.
Marcy sent it to me, 'cause she knows it's my favorite. It is, and so I watched it earlier this week. It is, the video's on that. I think it was actually in your Friday update, right?
It was.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so it is
Oh.
available and it is worth the watch. I did speed it up.
I'm trying
Just a
to
little bit.
imagine the voice
Yes.
going.
You can't do that in person.
Yeah.
Well, that's funny
It was,
because
it was good.
I swear I did actually look at your letter last week, but I don't remember that being in there. So you can go to Marcy's letter from last week to get the link, or you can go to the AMSD website if that's your jam. It's a good thing to have playing in the background at
Yep.
whatever speed. Because there's always some interesting tidbits in there.
Yes, there were.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, yes. Anything else? All right, thank you everyone for a really productive and engaging evening as always. The next step is for us to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Michael Birdman and a second by Heidi Marty. Any final discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye. The meeting is adjourned.